Are you the guy that got slapped on video?
I did, but I'll slap the shit out you though.
Oh, you will?
Yeah. I'm going to show you the inside of the house.
I'll make you another clip. Don't do that.
Seriously?
Don't do that.
Whoa.
So there's a few things that are guaranteed in life: death, taxes, and boxers being overconfident. It's something that we've seen from the beginning of time, and it will be something that we see until the end of time. It's so common, and we have another one of those examples right here. So to give you some of the backstory here, Deenthegreat is a streamer who streams on Kick, and he's also streaming with Adrien Broner, of course, a all-time great boxer, or maybe didn't necessarily live up to his potential, but he was a very, very good boxer in his prime. And basically, they're running a series where both of them are trying to get back in shape, and I believe for Adrien Broner, he's actually trying to get back into the ring and actually fight again. And for Deenthegreat, maybe he's trying to fight as well, but I think it's mostly just to get back in shape. Anyways, though, they train at a particular gym, and that's the point. And they train with some other fighters there. And MMA fighter Bobby Green, which I'm sure you guys already know, has been calling both Deenthegreat as well as Adrien Broner out for quite some time. He wants to spar these guys. But both Adrien Broner and Deenthegreat give that traditional boxing answer, where they'll say, you don't want these hands, you don't want to box me, it's not going to be close, I'm going to knock you out, whatever. It's just like all this peacocking to avoid the actual spar. And we weren't able to see that spar because of this. But because they train at a particular gym, they actually were willing to put up one of their guys that trains at that gym, Antonio Williams, up for a spar against Bobby Green to show Bobby Green that he's just not on their level, basically. And to give you guys some context on who this guy actually is, Antonio Williams, I will admit I'm definitely a boxing casual. I don't really know who this guy is. I did see a video clip a little while ago of Teofimo Lopez actually talking very positively about Antonio Williams, and this is his record. He is a 19-1 boxer. Now, you do have to take this with a grain of salt because a lot of these boxers, especially early on, stat pad, they don't go up against high-level competition. Now, as I said, I've never watched an Antonio Williams fight. I'm not going to pretend like I know who he is, but at the very least, even if he's not very good, at the very least, he has experience. He is a 19-1 pro boxer. And most importantly than that, or more importantly than that, I should say, both Deenthegreat and Adrien Broner are acting as if this guy, Antonio Williams, is going to beat the brakes off Bobby Green. So if he was really good in the past, or even if he wasn't, the fact is these boxers said that this boxer is going to be the brakes off King Green, and that's why King Green should not spar Adrien Broner or should not spar Deenthegreat. So let's get into the actual video or spar of the sparring footage of this particular spar. But before we get into that, hit that like button down below. I know it is a bit annoying, but it does help me out. It does tell the YouTube's algorithm that you guys are enjoying the stream, and it brings more people in. So if you guys are enjoying, hit that like button down below. But let's get right into it. So this is traditional Bobby Green.
Bobby, never seen a nigga like me.
Bob, trash talking everybody.
I'll tell you the next one.
Landing a nice right hand there. Hands down by his side, talking trash. Jab right there, right hand. Left hook on the end of it. Just kind of piecing him up. This jab there once again, talking shit while he's in clinch. If you guys haven't watched a Bobby Green fight before, this is exactly the way he fights in MMA. His hands are always by his side. He's very, very difficult to hit up top. He's trash talking you the entire time. Essentially, what he's trying to do is just piss you off in the octagon, and that's just how he fights. And of course, he's doing that once again here in this spar against Antonio. So this is just more stuff. Clinch work, nice right hand on the break right there. I don't know why the kid's going Dean. I want to spar. Nice little jab to the body. Put hands down, nice jab there. Right hand missed though. Pressure right hand. Left hook, another right hand. Just trash talking, landed a jab. Little shovel. Uppercut landed there as well. Dean and Broner a bit pissed off here. Just more shots landing from Bobby Green. More movement. And he's just basically the point of this spar is he's beating this guy's ass. It's not very close. And there's just more of this. I can continue the video on. He's just beating his ass. I know this is edited, and technically you can say, oh, maybe, you know, they edited the clips out of Bobby Green getting his ass beat, but I've seen a lot of clips and I've seen the full thing. It's just not true. Bobby Green is just pushing this guy up. Another right hand there after a jab. Not really showing
He ain't got nothing.
there.
He ain't doing shit but just talking.
Here. Now this guy's getting pissed. Antonio's getting a bit pissed.
Go.
Bobby Green's talking more shit.
I'm gonna earn every punch I get.
Once again.
Earn it then.
Ready?
And basically, like, I think you guys kind of get the gist. Bobby Green is just beating this guy's ass for the entirety of the spar. Now, one other thing that I heard some people talking about online is Antonio Williams is actually a 135er. I think he's a little bit bigger than that now, maybe at 140. But in the past, he was a 135er, and Bobby Green's at 155. Obviously, he's going to have the advantage. But in this specific scenario, that's just not true. Traditionally, yeah, if you're bigger than your opponent, you'll have the advantage. You'll probably have a reach advantage. You'll probably have a power advantage. In MMA terms, you'll also have an advantage in terms of anti-grappling or offensively grappling. You're going to be physically stronger. So yeah, traditionally, when you're bigger than your opponent, you'll have an advantage. But in this specific scenario, I actually don't think it's an advantage for Bobby. I think it's an advantage for Antonio Williams. And the reason for why I say that is Antonio Williams is wearing head guard for one, or headgear for one. For two, they're using boxing gloves. I'm sure it's like 14 ounces, maybe even 16 ounces, heavier boxing gloves. And also, it doesn't look like they're trying to knock each other out in there. So because of all those things, I wouldn't say it's a technical spar. Like, they're definitely throwing, but because of all those factors, you would actually say that the guy who's smaller and probably faster than an older Bobby Green would have the advantage in the spar. And also, on top of that, the obvious, Bobby Green is a MMA fighter. This guy, however good he is, Antonio Williams, he is a legitimate boxer with a 19-1 record, and a guy that both Deenthegreat and Adrien Broner said is really good. So you would actually assume in this scenario that Antonio Williams would have the advantage, but he was getting pieced up. I know after the fact, he was also getting a little bit frustrated, saying all the shots that Bobby Green was landing was nothing, but he was landing some good shots. He was getting pieced up, and he was just frustrated about the whole thing. And then after the entire spar, both Adrien Broner as well as Deenthegreat were like visibly very annoyed about what happened there. But this is kind of what you get when you get these very, very cocky boxers, and especially when they give or offer up somebody who's maybe not on the level of a Bobby Green or not on the level of some of these MMA fighters. They get embarrassed. And that's kind of what happened here. Yes, Antonio Williams got embarrassed in the actual ring, but also Deenthegreat and Adrien Broner also got embarrassed because they were acting as if Bobby Green would have no chance against these guys. So listen, here are my thoughts about the whole thing. I think it's just a funny thing to see Bobby Green kind of just G it out and just beat this guy's ass for, 15 minutes, however long the spar was. But the reality of the situation is this. When you talk about the highest level of boxers and the highest level of MMA fighters, it's very clear. I know a lot of people like to have this argument, who's better in what respective sport. MMA fighters are going to beat the brakes off boxers in MMA. It doesn't happen very, very frequently. Boxers very rarely come over to MMA, but whenever they do, they get beat up really badly, and it's not remotely close. Now, on the boxing side of things, when MMA fighters go over to boxing, they get knocked out or they just lose to the boxers. It's not as bad as boxers coming over to MMA, but at the same time, it's a different sport. MMA fighters are not going to deal well with the highest of level boxers in boxing. It just makes sense. It's just naturally what it's going to be. If somebody's a professional basketball player, they're not going to do well against a professional football player in football, and vice versa is true as well. I know there is a bit of crossover between MMA and boxing, so some MMA fighters may think I can do really well in boxing, and maybe some boxers will think I can do really well in MMA, but the reality is it's a different sport. And when you have the highest level MMA against the highest level boxers, they cannot make that crossover effectively. They're going to get beat up, and we've seen it so many times over and over. But in this scenario, Antonio Williams does not seem to be the highest level boxer in the world, to say the least. And King Green, who's a middle-of-the-road MMA guy, beat the brakes off this guy. So very, very funny. Very funny. Gotta love that sort of G style that Bobby Green has. And very satisfying, honestly, for an MMA fan, especially when you always hear these boxers saying, oh, there's no way this guy can have any success against us boxers. And as I said, I get it. I get it. Antonio Williams is not the highest level guy in the world, but still satisfying nonetheless. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. But until the next time, I'll see you fellas in the next one. Peace out, boys.